Merry meet everyone, it's Goddess Enchantments here, and today I'm doing a video talking about ritual bathing, and I'm going to share with you one of my recipes. So ritual bathing is something that's quite an important part of my personal practice. My family uses ritual bathing, and I think it's something that's a little bit misunderstood because of the term ritual bathing, as many people think that you need to have a bath, when realistically all you actually need is a sink or even a bowl, anything that can hold some water for you. You can use a bath, you can use a shower, you can use a sink, you can use a bowl at a push. So it really can be as versatile as you need it to be. Now, for me, ritual bathing comes into two main categories. There is the clearing and cleansing of your energy and your aura before you start ritual work and go into circle. Or you can actually use your ritual bathing as the start of your ritual or spell process and the layering of intent. So whichever way you want to use it, it's a really effective way of utilizing the energy of herbs, gemstones. You can add in essential oils to really kind of boost your practice and help you get in the mind frame that you need for your spell or ritual work. Because let's face it, if you've been out at work all day and you're a teacher and you have had some troublesome kids that day and you've been dealing with things and you come home and you're frazzled and you're like, oh, I've got a ritual prepared tonight for the full moon, but I just feel like I've still got that energy from school on me. Go and use your ritual bathing, and then you can start afresh before you do your spellcraft. So on a safety side of things, as I have your best interest at heart, I don't want anyone, having an allergic reaction or whatever. If you have not used a herb before in your food or in bathing, on skin, in a skincare product, for example, then it's important to patch test. So if it's just one herb of the tea mix you're planning to make, well, I call it a tea mix, but that's just because what we call it in my family. But if your herbal mix is going to contain one herb you're not sure of, then before you make it, take a teaspoon of that herb, boil a kettle, add it to a mug with a bit of water, let it go cool, and then put some of the water on the inside of your elbow. Leave it for 24 hours. If you have no redness, itching or reaction, then you should be fine to proceed. That's called patch testing. If there are a few herbs in your bath tea, but you're set, that's the recipe I want to do, you can always make your bath tea and do that same process before you actually use it in your bathing. If you are pregnant, I recommend staying away from herbal or essential oil ritual bathing. Now, you can still use it, and we will talk about that in a moment. If you have conditions such as epilepsy, for example, rosemary is not something I would recommend for you to use because it can cause epileptic fits. So you have to be very careful if you have epilepsy or a heart condition or something that's a severe medical condition. Then you want to talk to a herbalist or an aromatherapist and find out what's suitable for you. The other thing to note is don't use toxic plants or herbs in your baths for obvious reasons. You don't want to poison yourself or cause yourself harm. And also do not use crystals such as selenite that could give off little shards in the bath and harm you. Desert rose would dissolve on hitting the water. So do your research about what crystals are safe as well if you plan to use crystals. So this is my recipe for my energy clearing bath tea, which I have here. And I keep a jar of this put up on the shelf so that anyone can use it as and when they need. So you can make as a one-time thing, or you can make up a jar and it keeps great. For today, I'm just going to make a small amount. I would normally use a mortar and pestle, but I want you to be able to see the herbs and stuff, so I won't be doing that today. I also will not be adding my intent, but I will tell you when you need to add your intent as you go along, because we don't want this video being like 2 hours long. So I like to work in threes when I'm making things magically. So the best way I find to do this is choose a spoon of suitable size for the batch you want to make. So if I was making this size jar, then I would take a tablespoon, and that would be what I would use. For this one, I'm using a tiny salt spoon as I'm making one portion, if you like. So the first thing we're going to use is 3 of these spoons of sage. Now this is your standard variety sage. You could use white sage, but there are more people that have a skin reaction to white sage than normal sage, but completely up to you. Again, do your patch testing. Sage is fabulous to remove negative energy, to cleanse, to purify, and it's very protective. So that's the intent you want to add. So whether that be putting your hand over, adding your energy and intent, maybe you like to say the words, say a chant, completely up to you, however you work your magic. Next, I'm going to be adding 3 of chamomile. Now, I think chamomile is really underutilized because it's so associated with sleep and dream pillows, relaxation and stress. But chamomile is actually a really versatile herb. It is very protective. It purifies. You can use it to draw abundance and prosperity spells. So try not to get, most of the books out there on herbs tend to use the magical ones, a sort of blanket correspondence throughout them all. Try not to get stuck in books and use what works for you. Work with the herb and see what you feel its energy is. Try it out for different things. So that's the chamomile. Again, you would add your intent here. If you don't have one of these herbs, or it doesn't speak to you in the way either of protection and purification, then you can always swap it out for a herb you do have or a herb that does speak to you. Feel free to personalize this to you and your magic. Next is lavender, which again, like chamomile, I think is very underused. It is highly protective, a very spiritual herb used in conjunction with amethyst. It is amazing for path working, forwarding your spiritual path, opening your third eye. So that's in here for protection and purification. Again, you want to add your intent here. Then we're going to add basil, which is protective and purifying. Helps to get rid of any negativity that could be stuck from the day or just from how you're feeling, and you want to kind of blank that out and clear the aura. It's wonderful for clearing the aura. So that's your basil. And last but not least, I've got rosemary. My gorgeous rosemary from the garden. So I won't be doing a spoon for this. I will just be picking some bits off. And again, add your intention. Now that's our herbal mix, and you want to make sure that you've got all your intention in there for each of the herbs that you're going to be working with. Like I say, adjust them if you need, because it's to suit your magic and what speaks to you intention wise. Then add some sea salt. Now you can add any type of salt. I like the coarse stuff because it holds up better, which is something we'll talk about in a minute for the use of this. So 3 of that, and I think salt is pretty self-explanatory. And I also like to add, which I'm not going to this one because I think that's okay, but for a lot of my bath teas I also add Epsom salts. which are pretty cheap to get in these big bags, and they are full of magnesium, which is so good for you and is also very protective, and it just really softens the skin and gives you a kind of luxury element to your spiritual bathing. Next are the crystals, and to this mix I add a smoky quartz, which transmutes negative energy, negative thoughts, anything that may have attached it to you that's not positive. It helps ground you and protect you. So you want to add your intention to your crystal and pop that in. Next, I add carnelian, which purifies, but is actually mostly in here to give you an energy boost after you've done your cleansing, because you don't want to feel exhausted once you've cleansed all that stuff away. You want to empower yourself and to add a nice energy boost. So that's what carnelian does. And then a smoky quartz, which is to amplify the properties of those crystals and the other herbs that are in this mix. So amplify all that intention you've already put in here. So that's your crystals. Now, if you were jarring this, you would keep your programmed crystals in your jar with your mix. Now, if you're pregnant, like I said a moment ago, I wouldn't recommend using herbs like this. But during pregnancy, you can use salt. Now, salt is an amazing purifier, and it's all about getting your intention in there. So you may want to use just salt. You might want to use sea salt, Himalayan. You may want to mix some salts, a bit of sea salt, a bit of Himalayan salt, a bit of Epsom salts. And you want to sit with that salt a bit longer than you would, say, if you were adding it to a mix, and really get your intention into that salt to cleanse, to purify, to clear your aura, to get off anything sticky that's attached itself during the day, and really get that intent into your salt. The other thing you can still use is gems. So you can still use all three of these gemstones programmed in with your salt. And that's what I would recommend for pregnancy, or any people with health problems that don't know. If you're sitting watching this and you're like, well, I don't know a herbalist I can speak to. I don't want to take risks with my health. Absolutely never take risks with your health. If you're unsure, don't use it, don't do it. Then salt and crystals are the perfect answer, because they will do an amazing job for you. Now, if this was to be an intention bathing mix, then you would choose your herbs for intention. So if this was to spice up your relationship, then you may choose to use myrtle and cardamom and rose petals. That is just a gorgeous cardamom and myrtle. You need that in your witchy cabinet. Amazing stuff. If you want to make one to start your intention for prosperity or abundance working, then basil, chamomile, rosemary, mint, and anything really that speaks to you. Be versatile with your herbs. Don't be afraid to use something. Just because I haven't mentioned, let me think. I've not mentioned yarrow, but if for you yarrow signifies purification, then put in your yarrow, because it's really important to make this mix personal to you. You can follow this verbatim as I've given it, and I'm sure it will work absolutely wonderfully, because you've put all your intention in there and you've created this wonderful mix, the same as what I use. But you can also change it up, and it's not going to make it any less potent or any less effective. Have confidence that, if you're like, well, I've used lavender for anxiety spells so much now that, to me, that's the only thing lavender speaks of. It just doesn't connect with me magically another way. Leave out the lavender, or add another herb in the lavender's place. You can really play with the mix. Just think, what herbs am I probably going to use in my spell? Then can I incorporate that into my bath? And you can match the two up, or your bathing, not necessarily your bath. So that's your mix that you've made. Again, crystals and salt, any health problems, if you just don't have these herbs, salt and some crystals works wonders. So how to use them? Oh, the one thing I've forgotten left on the table. Here we go. You can buy these reusable bath tea bags, they're called, and they have Velcro at the top, and you can empty out the herbs afterwards, smudge them, dry them, and reuse these. These are awesome. Or you can get some muslin, really cheap. You can get it for like just over £1 per metre on eBay. Cut yourself a square of the muslin, then pop your herbs in the middle and gather it up like a little pouch. Then you can tie it with a ribbon, which you can add colour magic into your bathing. If, again, we're on a tight budget here, you don't have any ribbon, you can cut a piece of muslin into a strip or a piece of fabric and tie it off with that. Other things you can do, if you have one of those little tea baskets that you put the loose tea leaves in for making cups of tea, you can actually put this mix into one of those. You may have a bit of trouble getting crystals into one of those though, so either leave out the crystals, or if you're having a bath, you could put the crystals in separately. If you're having a shower, you could set the crystals round the corners of the shower perhaps and create a grid. So there's always ways around these things. Maybe you have one of those glass teapots that has the little compartment in the middle for putting in loose tea or herbs. You can put your herb mix in there, brew up a big teapot full with boiling water, wait for it to cool, and then add that to your bath, add it to your sink, or pop it into a jug and you can tip it over you. So that's another way you can do it. You can also put these just directly into your sink or directly into your bath. There's a bit more cleanup involved, but if you feel you connect better with herbs that way, then go ahead and do that. So like I said, you don't need a bath. Obviously you can do the whole bath tea thing and pop them in the bath, and that's great. If you don't have a bath, fill up your tea bag or your sachet, whatever you've made, with your items and your crystals, and then use it like a little, what are those like squeegee things called you use in the bath, but anyway, in the shower. You fill it up with water, like let the water from the shower go on it, and then wash yourself down with it, like so. You can then fill it up with water and squeeze it out over your head and your hair and use it in the shower that way. If you're using it in a sink, you can use it in a similar way you would in a bath and dip it in and let all the water change. Then you can wash either down your whole body, or you can just wash your hands, your arms, your face and your feet. You don't need to do a whole body if all you've got is a sink available to you. Just make sure you do your hands and your feet. And you can obviously do your face as well and your arms if that's what you want to do. But again, go with what feels right to you. But don't feel that you need to have a bath to be able to add this into your personal practice. I think that covers pretty much everything when it comes to these. But like I say, experiment. You can add some essential oils, a couple of drops of lavender, a couple of drops of rosemary, but obviously check with your health conditions first. But they're really versatile and a really great way to start your ritual and spellcraft practices. If you're going to a Sabbath meeting or a coven meeting, if you're in a group, then you can use one of these before you go, use it before meditation or path working, and add the intention to help open you up to any messages that you need to receive or to clear your way on your path working. They're just so versatile, and again, it's talking about this layering in magic. Layering with our oils when we anoint our candles and the colour of our candle and the herbs we've chosen, and even do a spell this way. If you live in a group accommodation and you can't set up a big altar, you can't set up a spell space. If you have children and the only time you get alone is in the bathroom, you can absolutely use this to create a spell and perform it completely in your bathroom. You don't have to worry about being walked in on. You can have your space to yourself. It wouldn't look strange if you wanted to take a tea light candle or something else like that in there. But you can literally just use this method to set your spell while you're in the bath or the shower or using a sink full of water. So really just, you know, embrace the herbs. I think I love herbs. I really think they're a great magical tool, majority of which you can get at the supermarket or you can grow yourself. I'm a big advocate for that. I grow most of mine. But yeah, so that's it from me. I'm rambling on. I could talk about herbs for hours and hours. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I will speak to you all soon. Love and light.